next time. Welcome to Game Room X. Game Room X is an idea that I've had kicking around in the back of my head for like the last year or so, and what I wanted this to be is just a place to talk about the games behind me, the games in my collection. I actually want to talk about those. I want to play the games from my collection, and I want to talk about games that I bring into the collection. I also just want to talk about like gaming adjacent things and just general video gaming things. So in these, you'll see kind of a mix of video game pickups. We'll do some video game gameplay. We'll go out into the world and experience some video game stuff. And it'll just kind of be like a mishmash of all of it. And I hope this ends up being as interesting as it is in my head for everybody else. And with that, I suppose, let's kick it off with the inaugural episode of Game Room X. Today's challenge is going to be King Kong 2 for the Nintendo Famicom. This is an action-adventure game. You play as King Kong, obviously. The lore behind this game, you wake up strapped to a table and you have a dream about Lady Kong who asks you to come help her, and then you break free of your shackles and then the game starts. That's where we pick up. So let's go ahead and start this game.
Hello everyone. Today we see if our Grexer can complete this challenge.
Dude, are you hearing this music? Oh my goodness. This game's like 30 years old. It's crazy how 8-bit music was just so good back then, and it's still so good right now.
King Kong 2 was developed by Konami in 1986 and is loosely based on the film titled King Kong 2 in Japan.
Ah, yes. You jump into a pit, you die. Yeah, okay. Okay, game. Okay, game. Makes sense. That's on me? That's on me?
In order to beat the game, our Grexer must travel to 9 worlds, defeat the bosses and collect their keys. Then, he can save Lady Kong.
Wait. What? Like, we barely touched the edge of that pit and he died? I don't even think we touched the edge of the pit. Like, we're standing over land and we died. Like, what? That's crazy. That's garbage.
King Kong can punch enemies and throw boulders at them. King Kong's health and the number of boulders he can hold can be increased by finding upgrades throughout the game. Stunned into silence, our Grexer is learning what makes this a challenging game. And his skill begins to improve. Or does it? Will he ever be able to get beyond this pit? Will his skills ever improve? Will he be defeated by King Kong in the very first Game Room EX challenge? We'll find out after this quick break for some video game pickups.
Welcome to this pickups video. So this video is going to focus on modern consoles. So it's just going to be Xbox One, Xbox Series X, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5. And in the future, we'll do some videos specifically for the Nintendo Switch, and then another one for Xbox 360, and then another one for just modern, or not modern, but retro games. And we'll just go from there. But the focus of this video, like I said, is going to be on modern consoles. So I've been mainly focusing on the Xbox over the PlayStation, and then just kind of trying to find games that seem interesting to me. A lot of times these games go on sale, and so I grab them when they go on sale, and we'll talk about what we got here. First game up, it's going to be Modern Warfare for the Xbox and the PlayStation 4. So I had originally bought this game because I had just finished playing through an older franchise, first-person shooter. It's the first-person shooter single-player campaign that I had played in a while, and I got bit by the bug and I wanted to play some more. So Modern Warfare has always been kind of one of my favorite single-player campaigns. I think Titanfall 2 is going to take the cake as my top single-player campaign of all time. But Modern Warfare has always had a really good single-player campaign. So I wanted to find this game because brand new, this game is like $50 or $60. And I happened to come across a copy of this game at a local thrift store. And so I got this game for $25. And when I came home and put it in my Xbox and installed it, to my surprise, I actually couldn't play it because there was a single player DLC that also needed to be downloaded. And lo and behold, I couldn't download the single player DLC. So this disc ends up being worthless. Next game up is gonna be Elden Ring. So this one, like, I like Souls games, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a huge fan of them. Like, I feel like a lot of people really love Souls games. I just kind of like Souls games. And so I kind of felt like going into this game, I wasn't going to be hooked. And I was not wrong. I come back to this game every now and then, but I haven't really sat down and just did a really long playthrough of this game. Like, when Breath of the Wild came out, I was entirely hooked into Breath of the Wild. I did nothing else but play Breath of the Wild. And I kind of, like, I see this happen to other people with this game, but just didn't happen with me. But still, cool pickup, maybe one day. With Dark Souls 1, it took me probably like 8 years of trying to play that game before I finally really got into it. And when I got into it, played like 80 hours of Dark Souls 1. So one day, maybe that'll happen with Elden Ring. The next game that we have here, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga Collection. So this one was one that I knew I was going to get as soon as I heard about it. And that is because this has all of the 90s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games on it. So all the NES games, all the Super Nintendo games, all the Genesis games, all the Game Boy games, even the arcade games. All those games that have been super expensive over the last like 2-3 decades are now very affordable in this Cowabunga collection. And you can't go wrong with them, really. And there's also Shredder's Revenge, which is like the newest game in this same style of the modern games, which I also had pre-ordered. I guess at some point it's supposed to arrive within the next 2-3 weeks, but that'll be another one that'll be adding to the collection. So spoiler, I guess. Anyway, to the next game. It's gonna be a PlayStation 4 game. I actually didn't get the PlayStation 5 version of this, and I'm kind of kicking myself for not doing it. But Valkyrie Elysium. So this is the next game in the Valkyrie Profile series. I wanted to get this game because Valkyrie Profile 1 is a super expensive game, or at least the PlayStation 1 game, and like, you never know when a game's gonna pop off. So if a super expensive game series ends up getting a new game, I generally try to get it at some point relative to when it comes out, just to avoid the possibility of this game spiking in price and me wanting to play it and not being able to like get a copy of it. But I also have been looking for a modern RPG to get into, and this kind of seemed like it was up my alley. So it kind of has that same Valkyrie Profile combat where you have a team of other people on your team and each person is kind of mapped to a button, and when you engage in combat you can kind of do combos by calling in different people. So in that respect, it's kind of like a tag fighting game where you can tag in your other team members to do some combat. And this one is their take on like an open world version of Valkyrie Profile. And it seems like it's a pretty cool game. So at some point I'll get around to playing this game. But something tells me these aren't the kind of games that you're here for. If you're an enterprising Grexer and you've been following my channel for a long time, you're here for a specific type of game. Those obscure games. But for that, we're gonna have to go to the other side of the desk. And Larry, Backroom Larry over here, has stepped out. So we got some time to step over there. So well, let's head over to the back room and see what we got.
I hope you enjoyed that break. We'll check out the backroom game pickups in a bit. But for now, let's head back to King Kong 2. The game features destructible environments that just might reveal some secrets. The secret doors take us to a place that could be confused for a room out of The Legend of Zelda. And just like that, we've teleported to World 2.
This is like The Legend of Zelda? Like, this looks like The Legend of Zelda, but we can like teleport to different levels. So is this like Mario 3 and we can just like skip the whole game?
Skipping the whole game sure would make this challenge easy. Looks like we've found another secret door. I wonder where this one goes. Our Grexer lets out a silent sigh and takes a chance on the door. It looks like we've found a new area with multiple new doors. He checks to see if we're still in World 2 and wonders if he should choose a door or not. Looks like he chose door number 2. Where could it possibly lead to? After exploring for a bit, our Grexer finds himself at this airport and quickly finds another secret door. The possibilities are endless where we'll end up, and hopefully our Grexer is taking good notes. After fighting an onslaught of enemies and dodging waves of bullets, we push through to this heavily guarded door, and we find our first boss. Hopefully our Grexer has what it takes to win. And he successfully bested the first boss, and it looks like it dropped our first key too. Going back to the area with multiple doors, our Grexer has found yet another door. And it seems like he's found the World 2 boss. Throwing boulders at this giant spider in such a small space actually seems like a good strategy. And just like that, the World 2 boss is defeated and we've received our second key. Our Grexer is now at World 9 and has 6 keys. He's trying to navigate this world's many enemies, environment obstacles and maze-like rooms in order to find Lady Kong. A room full of skulls seems like the perfect place to hide at least one secret door. Trying to smash all of these skulls seems like a challenge in itself. And we've found a secret door. Looks like his instincts were correct.
This game really just took us from level 9 back to level 1. That's the thing that just happened. Now we have to work our way all the way back to level 9. Ugh.
Oh no. It looks like it might be time for another break. Why don't we head out to the local arcade and refresh our spurt? Today, we visit a local arcade. Our Grexer loves to spend time here as it's quite a big arcade with a huge variety of games to play. You can play games just for fun, or you can play games that give you tickets that you can exchange for prizes. Sometimes I think our Grexer is a coin drop machine addict. But today he controls himself from playing it. And then he sees the drop claw machine. He will be guaranteed to try this at least once today, but he always starts at the fighting games first. This arcade has cabinets for quite a few popular fighting games such as Virtua Fighter, Tekken, The King of Fighters, Street Fighter, and Marvel vs. Capcom. Spending some time with Virtua Fighter 5 is always a must when he visits this place. Trying a new character, he makes it to stage 7. but unfortunately, that's as far as he goes.
Not in the cards today.
Today, we're giving the game Chaos Field a try, which can also be played on home consoles such as the Nintendo Wii and GameCube. This brand new 4D experience light gun game catches our Grexer's attention. It sort of ends up being a game similar to the House of the Dead, and the 4D experience is kind of fun.
Kind of pogged. Actually kind of cool. See if we can try to win something.
Can our Grexer go home with a prize today? Not with those skills.
Rip!
Not one to be defeated, he tries again and successfully walks away with a new Sonic the Hedgehog plush. Okay. Well, that was a fun trip to the arcade. Why don't we finish seeing what video games our Grexer picked up before we see if he can successfully defeat King Kong 2?
Okay, before we hit this back room, there's one rule. Grexer eyes only. Larry is a pretty big stickler for his back room here, so if you go ahead and drop a follow on this channel, no issues. While you're at it, maybe go ahead and drop a follow on the Twitch channel. But I'm going to trust that you did it, because it's my butt on the line here. Anyway, let's hit this back room. Now we're going to hit these good pickups. So first came up, it's going to be this game, Phobia. And this is a horror game that released on the Xbox One, Xbox Series X. It was developed by a Brazilian dev team, and it's actually a really creepy game. So this game is kind of like Resident Evil meets Resident Evil 7. Like, I kind of would imagine you put the two together and then you throw in a little Eternal Darkness, and it's a pretty crazy game. I actually really like this game. I started playing this game on Twitch and had a good time playing it. This is going to be like my horror month spooky game, and absolutely love it. Very cheap game. If you're into horror games and you're looking for a new one, definitely recommend grabbing it. The next one up is going to be Iron Harvest for the Xbox One, Xbox Series X. This is kind of like an alternate history World War I real-time strategy game, and then you throw in some like steampunk mechs, steampunk other heavy machinery and stuff, and you end up with like this really cool game. So this is very much going to be an RTS experience on a console, except I think modern consoles do a pretty good job with controls when it comes to RTS games, so I don't think you're going to struggle too much. And I'm just happy to see the RTS genre like properly come back. A proper RTS game is what you'll find in this game. Next up, it's going to be the Rift Breaker. This one is going to also kind of fall into the RTS category. This one is like a mix of a third-person action game, an RTS, and a little bit of like a twin-stick shooter. In this one, instead of having a cursor that you kind of move around the map like you would in a traditional RTS game, instead, your character, viewed as a third-person perspective, ends up acting as like your cursor. And then you run around, you build stuff like you would in an RTS game, but you can also attack using your character, and you can build up walls and like defenses and stuff. Tower defense is something else that I meant to throw into this. So it's like third-person action, RTS, tower defense, throw in a little bit of everything in there and you get this game. This one I think is one of the coolest ideas for a game. Next one up is gonna be The Last Stand Aftermath. This one is kind of like a post-apocalyptic survival game. It's kind of it has kind of the feeling of The Last of Us, but it's gonna be this kind of 3/4 view, top-down dungeon crawlery-esque viewpoint. I would say this is like Project Zomboid Light meets Walking Dead, and it ends up being kind of like an interesting survival game. This is another one where the concept of it seems very interesting to me. I love post-apocalyptic single-player game experiences, and so this game I was kind of naturally drawn to. This next one is going to be Werewolf the Apocalypse. This one actually, there's a PlayStation version of this game, and it was sold out. I think it was at Best Buy I was checking, but this game is a mix of, like, say Metal Gear Solid and just like this crazy third person action game. So in this one, you play as a human who can transform into a werewolf. You kind of like stealth your way through all these like secret government facilities and stuff, and then you can just hulk out into this werewolf and just take things down with incredible style. This game, I think, will be kind of one of those games that people look back on and say, how did I miss this game? It's a very interesting game, it's a cool action game. And then the next game here is going to be Greedfall. So I actually heard a lot of good things about this game prior to grabbing it. This game was surprisingly the cheapest game that I bought in this pickups. This was $10 for this gold edition. What the gold edition comes with, I'm not entirely sure, but I assume it's the whole game, and that's what I was after. But I hear this is like a very, very, very good RPG. Like, not RPG light, not an action game with RPG elements in it, like an RPG. And I'm always here for just straight up RPGs. And from what I've seen of it, the gameplay of this game, it's kind of like just kind of older Western RPGs, and I kind of am in the mood for more Western RPGs than JRPGs these days, especially if you're looking for a game with a good story. I'm just not convinced by a lot of JRPG stories anymore. But Western RPGs I kind of like. So, Greedfall. So that's going to do it for the Xbox games. Maybe there's a surprise at the end. I don't know. You'll have to wait and see. But we're going to get into some PlayStation games right now. And the first game up is going to be Undernaut Labyrinth of Yomi. So I also bought this game on the Switch. I kind of prefer the Switch version of games. Like, Switch is going to be my always go-to #1 version of a game, followed by the Xbox, and then followed by the PlayStation. But I grabbed this game on the PlayStation because it was on sale, and I wanted to have a non-Switch version of this game as well. And here we go. Yeah, this one, I'm always looking for a game kind of like the Dark Spire. The Dark Spire on the Nintendo DS is easily my favorite Nintendo DS game, pretty much my favorite dungeon crawler of all time. So any game that can kind of give me a similar vibe to that, I'm here for. And so this game I thought had like a pretty cool environment. So it's kind of like modern meets fantasy, which I always think is a pretty cool mix of things. And the art style in this game is really cool, the music's really cool, and it's a dungeon crawler. The next game up is going to be this game called The Eternal Cylinder. So this is a very, very quirky, interesting game. This is the kind of game that I love in this world of gaming and game collecting that we have here. So this game, I feel like, is going to be kind of on the level of Cubivore or like Evo on the Super Nintendo back in the day. So it's just like a weird character that you start with, and then over time it can evolve into different things. And I think like the actual power is shape-shifting in this game, but it's kind of like Cubivore meets Evo meets Pikmin. And yeah, you just end up with this really weird concept of a game. And I love it when like developers actually kind of try new things, like they get out of their comfort zone and just like try just a weird game. So that'll do it for the PlayStation 4 games. Next one up is going to be PlayStation 5. And the first game up is going to be this game called Blackwind. Blackwind is pretty much like a twin stick shooter dungeon crawler type game. So this game, well, I feel like I've already explained it. You're in a giant mech and you shoot a lot of things and you dodge a lot of bullets. So it's kind of like a run and gun shooter in a top-down third-person perspective. I thought it looked pretty cool. The colors in it look pretty cool. I'm always here for like mech games and shooting games, and I decided why not. The next game here is going to be The Ascent. This is one that I was actually like really hyped for. This game is set in a cyberpunk world, and it's like cyberpunk meets some kind of dungeon crawler, like Diablo-esque type dungeon crawler. And so like there's this top city where you can like explore the cyberpunk world, you can talk to people, you can get quests, you can buy items, you can experience the story. And then there's like the dungeon crawler aspect of it, where it feels a lot like Hellgate London, if you ever played that game way back in the day. And the combat in it just looks really cool. So I was super hyped when I came across this game. Definitely wanted to get a copy of it and prioritize getting a copy of this game. And the last PS5 game that we have here, folks, is gonna be Relayer. So this is a strategy RPG game starring giant mechs, and this game plays kind of like Advance Wars. And so like you have the strategy RPG map, you move your giant mechs around, and then when two mechs engage in combat, you end up with like these pretty cool cinematics that happen. And so this game was actually sold out in a lot of major retailers when I was looking for a copy of it, and the only place that I could find it was Best Buy. And I still had to wait a week for them to be able to send me a copy of this game. And so like the alarm bells were kind of going off in my head that this is probably going to be kind of a hard to track down game at some point, even though we're like relatively early into the PS5's life cycle. Yeah, just struck me as a game that was going to be hard to find at some point. And like I said, an RPG with giant mechs is pretty much what I love. And then the last game that I have here, it's not an obscure game, but a game to be on the lookout for. But I caught a thrift store slipping hard on a sealed copy of Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 for the Xbox One. And I've been getting into fighting games lately, and this was kind of one that I really wanted to get, and I bought it an open copy. But finding this sealed copy, which is a $200 plus game most days, for 40 bucks, was pretty much my best find. So there we go. That's our pickups.
Wow, so many cool games. I hope you enjoyed those video game pickups. Now, let's jump into the exciting conclusion of today's game challenge. After a quick cry in the Game Room EX break room, our Grexer finally makes his way back to World 9 and continues the search for Lady Kong. We've found the door where we can use our keys, but there seems to be a problem. It looks like we don't have enough keys, so our Grexer will need to go find the 2 missing keys. We're here in World 6 looking for the door to the boss. This stage is a huge sprawling city with many buildings that can be destroyed. Our powered-up King Kong has revealed a new secret door. And it looks like our Grexer has found the World 6 boss. Going with the tried and true boulder throw strategy, this should be an easy fight. And the World 6 boss has been defeated, and we can now get our 7th key. With all 8 keys, we return to World 9 to finally unlock the door to Lady Kong. And it looks like we've found the World 9 boss. Either our Grexer has gotten better at this game, or this fight doesn't pose much of a challenge. Down goes the World 9 boss. Next up, saving Lady Kong. Congratulations to our Grexer. Here's to the first of many victories in the future.
And there we have it. The inaugural episode of Game Room X is coming to an end. So, we had a little bit of everything in this video, I think. In the future, we'll talk about more retro stuff, and we'll just kind of hit the high notes, I guess. It would be cool to do some more Hidden Gems videos on some other consoles that I never covered in the past, and maybe re-hit some of the consoles I had touched. And like I said, I just wanted this to be a space to talk about video games and to just connect with other people who want to talk about video games and just kind of change up the format a little bit. I felt like the way that I was doing things before just got a little stale, and let's give this a try. But if you like this video, please, please, please like, comment, follow, do all the things YouTubers normally ask you to do. Those things help YouTube's algorithms promote the channel, put it in front of new eyes, and it helps the channel grow, which in turn helps motivate to keep these things going. But in any event, thank you again for watching it if you've watched it this long, and until the next time, peace.